It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's June 13th. I'm actually sitting here. I watched CBS this morning. It was very disturbing. I'm sitting in a position where I'm in America. I'm in North America, to be specific. They've given a specific Union Jack that looks like this, I guess to keep the fight localized. I'm not quite sure if it's a business office decision, because I'm only 10% of the ABO, and I have very specific needs. Some fight broke out. I mean, again, they call it racist. Well, when I was at field day as a kid, it was run. Run as fast as you can and get over the finish line. NASCAR has a thing. They have their own flag. Not only a Union Jack flag of red and white, which with a maple leaf, but then at the races they've got this pattern on a flag, on a rectangle, that they wave when you get over the finish line. Now globally, the finish line separates two different Union Jacks in rectangle patterns between Finland and Russia. And I know at geospatial, that's an important whatever. Where I'm confused is why at most significant ABO and most rare blood type in this Union Jack thing that's going on, that's been publicized by, I mean, it was when I went for knowledge at the local community college level, the one that the third degree recognizes. Again, I go back and forth with what they recognize, what they don't. I mean, they're a real pain in the whatever. So, I mean, and then I realized, oh, I have an example this week of watching Bill Maher, which I don't always watch, but this week he made several really smart finds. One, he acknowledged what Biden's actually up to, because it's not publicized anywhere I can reach it. I don't know what the Democrats are up to. They're like some secret society in the Americas that are conducting themselves somehow. I don't know if they had pre-planned billionaire agendas heading into this catastrophe and superstorm. So they pronounce pretty much that he is all about whatever I'm not, he's going to get them to win in this race. Which is really disturbing. Then there's this thing of, and like, my whole life I've been erased. I've been erased out of a whole lot of things. For instance, they just had this Tony Award, Tony, which if you're Sony, Sony, and like So New York, right, yeah, you might understand this. So the To New York, they had some award show I've never watched, didn't even know existed, for something called a Broadway. So in broad schematics of things, if I was to do a update on where are we at it being erased in the world, in America, it's really frightening what the results are. It's a 2-hour show. They're Radio City Seek Awards. And it is their 75th, so it's somewhere in hyperbole. It's really daunting and frightening just how many. Then if I toggle between Bill Maher and this See the BS this morning, which has a summary of the Tony Awards, because I'm not giving them time or credit in my life frame for erasing my purpose, my ability in this America and in this US, as well as the children that I have that I don't see a future for, based on the way that things have gone on in my life frame. So no, I'm not celebrating them. Let's see. And then it goes to, it literally segues from Broadway's best into teaching kids racism. Those are the headlines that CBS put on this morning. So they're teaching kids racism. It says it in their headlines. They're very clear. And then this guy comes on who says he's anti-racist. So I'm like, right, so we're teaching kids how to be racist for only one side, under the guise of they've been hurt before. I've heard this my entire life. I see it very clearly. It's on the media, the way that they presented it themselves. And then I have this third degree guy who comes on, who's some part of something called a union seminary. I don't even know what that's all about. But he's got 3 degrees from 3 Ivy Leagues. So if I had to choose a People's Award of definition matches character, I'm like, he went to 3 Ivy League schools, got 3 different degrees, so now he thinks he's smarter than the rest. Yeah, I see you. So that happened, which I'll make note of. Somewhere in there's some man named Lloyd who's having a fight or trying to speak between China and the US. So I'm like, right, China and us, and Lloyd's doing the talking, and I'm still here, and it feels like my part's been totally erased. Then Bill Maher goes into something I'd never even heard of. See, I don't get to travel. I don't have money, resources, currency, while this Tony Awards at the hyperbole is going on between things that are trying to erase me out of history, out of the spotlight, out of being able to even function in a healthy manner, while they just run amok in some loose, wild turkey kind of a way. Which was mentioned in the British and the Lawrence of Arabia type thing where he was going to free Turkey, right? And then what happens to everybody who doesn't know that they're coming for them and trying to take the 10% that's left on the planet and erase them out completely? I'm just curious because my children need some safety somewhere in the world. We're already outnumbered, and it doesn't seem like anybody's cooperating in this, like, brotherhood of men, and, like, we'll hold hands, and it'll just be so nice to the finish line. Like, they'll love us, we'll love them. It's like 1 cookie for you, 1 cookie for me. That's not how it works. I mean, it's not how they've been working it anyway. It's clear as day based on the results of my life. So wiki travel, now this is the thing that really irks me. Now that Earthlings just have this, they broke the banking system, they put all of their hopes and dreams on some kind of credit that now they're trying to keep hold of in some market. They're transporting themselves, causing trouble throughout the world. And then they're like, no, you stay local and you only speak of local things while we handle Well, we got in international things. Right, yeah, it's not working for me. What has been working for me the entire time it feels like it's making a real mockery and mess. So then it says WikiLeaks travel. It says what America is. Like when you come here, you can't bribe the police. It's not allowed. Although it intimates this broadcast that they're allowed to do that elsewhere. Again, this is where the fine lines of humanity get blurred for me and confusing. Why are they allowed in if they practice something else elsewhere? Shouldn't there be tighter laws and restrictions on that? And why is my area just like some hippy dippy? Like, and then there's a guy with a handlebar mustache, and I'm like, wow, that's very 70s, 60s, and 70s of you. Is that like handling the part that doesn't practice prohibition on alcohol in a dry society? Just checking. I saw some people crying about abortion in Wyoming. I'm watching the whole entire thing. I am. With a open heart, let's call it, at the moment, and trying to really rationalize all the irrational things humans are up to and that are being presented on the televised teleporting machine. Because I see some real serious issues, and I'm not sure if people are speaking about them properly in how did we get here. Because the story I entered about how the relationships between blacks and whites were just prior to my arrival is a very different scene than what this race has been. Categorically, they're racing to some finish line that I'm pretty sure if I go speak to someone at the North Atlantic Treaty Operation and Santa Claus with the North Pole with some elves, they clearly drew what that story was supposed to look like. And it does not look like the story that's going on at the moment in New York and on the Tony Awards and in some of the other places that they're spotlighting. So this is them giving me the results of what Biden's up to and how do I find out about things. I just seem to stumble into them, honestly, by what the humans are allowing to come through on the propaganda or television machine of, I don't know what the back engine on any of this really is.
Here. And the person who got the most votes, it's a Democratic primary, but it's going to be a Democratic winner in the fall. Okay.
Right.
So it was this guy, Rick Caruso, white guy, billionaire, and Karen Bass.
Now, I've never heard of either one of them. I'm not in a production company, a theater company. I'm not part of Hollywood. I'm not part of TV producer land. I'm not part of the billionaire circle. I'm not part of the senators. I'm not part of the circus. I don't know. I was part of it at one point in my childhood where the parents were bringing their respectable, good-looking children with them on family vacations to some meeting spot for like respectable, promising the hand of a respectable young woman from a respectable family to a respectable young gent from another respectable family, and working some network that way. And we know what we would like, and I personally, I'm an 8, I would like a 7. I was born in 1978, and there's very specifics between the 11 and the 12 that know these things. And I being born on the 3rd, I know I've had a very real meeting with two very not from around New York, good looking, whatever, one the 3rd, one the 11, and that's what I expect, like that's what I was expecting from young youth, to be allowed to marry respectfully, but that's not what the Americans actually, they did a lot of really nasty stuff to stand in the way with some U.S. whatever. And I don't know how all of this is working, but it has not been working for me thus far. There's been some really grimy stuff that went on, and I don't understand why others are allowed to have their respectable ceremonies and respectable unions, and why mine was just totally decimated, especially being one of the endangered populations on the planet of humanoid-ish, which do not match genetically some of the other genetic markers.
I know them both, like them both. She's a black congressperson.
Sure.
He beat her by 30 points with black men. What's up with that?
You know, it's hard to say though, man. My dear brother Mark really Thomas, who I love like a brother who's been mistreated in so many different ways, that when I saw what Caruso did in his ad, I had real critique of that. And so that I have a certain suspicion of certain politicians who come flying in from the top with billionaire money and think somehow they're going to be messianic in terms of dealing with the mess that sometimes they actually help cause.
Now, this man has 3 Ivy League degrees. I think, but I'm not certain, because I'm not in something to look up to relationship. I'm pretty sure that is someone's definition of 3rd degree when he speaks. I've been kept almost in isolation, not because I want to. There's been times where they bring me out and I'm able to socialize, but I don't have a very large vocabulary or understanding as he does.
This case, but if I looked a little deeper, I might see some connections. So in that sense,
So he wasn't in politics before this.
no, and I know, but that's what it is. As you know, I mean, the organized greed has such an impact on our electoral political system that it makes it so truncated. We got a choice between neo-fascists like Brother Trump or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? And you think of all the decent people in America, all the decent people in the country, how do we end up so hemorrhaged with these mediocre folk at the top?
I see Biden is, but I see Biden is down with his black folks. Can I just read? I said I looked into this. Here's some of the things he's done.
Sure.
Appointed one of the most diverse cabinets in history. First, of course, black and female vice president. Directed federal agencies on the first day to address the impacts of systemic racism. Extended the eviction moratorium that disproportionately helped black families remain safe during COVID. Executive order to improve educational opportunities.
This, to me, is a billboard of how did he erase my purpose over his career out of the New York area completely. I mean, like the who done it and how, it's right here. Because this word minority, what does that actually mean? Because I'm only 10% of the population by genetic standards in an ISO, an industry standard, like organization of scientific method, which is normally what the 3rd degree goes off of, is some form of scientific method and some form of logic for like what actually counts as a fact or not. So I don't understand when they're actually the majority of population that is here in New York at this time and in the territory known as the USA. How on earth are they calling them minorities? Because you're not working for me at this point. It doesn't feel like it. Looks like you're erasing me out of the agenda and the landscape completely. Where is the man I was supposed to respectfully marry? Why am I stuck in this storyline with these things that don't work? Like they don't measure up. They're not even given opportunity to like really prove who they are.
opportunities for black people. Barred the use of chokeholds. DOJ sued Georgia over discriminatory voting laws.
I mean, for me, these are distracting conversations that keep going on and keep getting recirculated and rematriculated and repatriotized and patronizing and riots and all sorts of stuff. But I don't understand where and when the real help arrives. I mean, all I wanted was to meet a man who is respectful, and good looking would have been nice. And instead, I got nothing like that. It's just, I mean, it's ridiculous. Of what man is able to accomplish. I mean, man is able to build a machine that flies. Man is able to build a machine that goes to the moon. So they tell me. But yet man is incapable of finding a respectable young lady from a dry house with respectable whatevers. Another respectable mate for life? I mean, come on. Again, the logic just doesn't, it's irrational. It does not add up. Something's wrong. Now, Linda did tape the Tony Awards. Neither one of us, well, I don't know if she watched it. I did not. Showing that it's the 75th. It's on CBS. It says Radio City Music Hall. Radio City Music Hall in New York City. And it says Honors Excellence on Broadway. It also shows it's 2 hours long. I'm not committing anything to them, especially 2 hours of my attention span. So I went to the condensed version on CBS the day after, on the morning. So now on CBS, it's E116 on this, again, the lighting on the CBS this morning. Now, here it says Broadway's Best. Now just listen and watch how it segues from Broadway's Best, they're displaying that's who it is, into teaching kids racism, which also is someone that looks like that. Oh, and it comes from Tony Award, White Cherry Entertainment.
And there were stunning musical performances from Broadway's Best at the Tony Awards, including a show-stopping performance from this year's Best Actress in a Musical, Joaquina Calacango from Paradise Square. We're stronger than before.
And listen, because she says, we're gonna let it burn. And then it goes into teaching kids about racism. I mean, I don't make this segue up. This is just whatever CBS is up to, and I don't know their driving force. I don't know their shell corporations. I don't know their patriots. I don't know their funding. I don't know their scheduling. They don't send me all over the world to travel to investigate things or become journalists. Now, is she talking about my Union Jack that some of my 10%'s been organized under? I'm just curious, because that's really a dangerous way to go in how they're painting things this morning.
Did you notice how she just had one tear that came out of the eye and the other one was brimming? She was so good.
She was so good. The Tonys were completely knockout. But we've covered that. We're going to get into something new this morning because we've got Ibram X. Kendi here, as you can see. Kendi's a renowned scholar and author who studies anti-racism and how he says it can improve all of our lives. Kendi is now applying that research, which adults have flocked to kids with two...
So now he's written the book, literally, on racism, saying anti-racist. And he's had plenty of time to study his argument, formulate the plot, and fully action and mobilize, in theory, actuality, and modus operandi, some greater movement to essentially shut up and quiet up anything that opposes this great race to the top in some amazing race type format that was already underway before I arrived in 1978 and is now just take leaps and bounds and a horrific turn in New York as far as I'm concerned. I should mention, I was not allowed to study racist things. I also did not write a book on racism or anti-racism because I don't practice erasure of others. I'm just waiting for the man I was born to meet in a respectful way. I don't know what all this human gaming is about.
Two books. One is How to Raise an Anti-Racist. It's for parents, and there's a...
So now it's an instruction guide. How to raise someone who's against the other race. But coming from this type of messenger. I mean, again, I don't have any books, never have. I wouldn't even purchase a book like this or about this subject matter because it's not something that I want out in the universe as if it's a hidden acceptable agenda.
Picture book, Goodnight Racism, for kids. Kendi is the founding director of the Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research.
It's now in Boston Massacre terms. He has a research facility there. Oh, I heard on the radio yesterday somebody with a British accent that said something about distinguish the difference between research so it doesn't get taken as if it's bipartisan. I don't know what that means. I mean, like, honestly, what's the difference?
And a CBS News contributor. Ibram, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Both books are really interesting and I think valuable. And before you get into how parents can address racism with a toddler or even a teenager, talk about why the old way of just teaching color blindness is insufficient in your view.
I mean, that way is...
See, color blindness is different. It's, I mean, you, whatever, are here doing whatever it is that, whatever, and I'm doing whatever, but I'm not trying to, like, whatever. I mean, like, again, I already know I'm only 10% of the population. I already know I'm the minority here. I already know that they're lying through their teeth, trying to claim credits, get funding, and tell the story all wrong. And they have the louder voice because there's more of them in some societal agreement. I already know it's dangerous to even say my point of view or how I feel in this mixed bag situation because I've been thrown into a hospital where they try to tell me I was crazy. They try to stick me with needles and injections. They tried to hit me with medication that I don't want to take, all because they have 3rd degrees, some of them 1 degree, and they're trying to paint the societal engineered project in their favor. I already can see that. I saw that very early on between the city and the country that I was taken to. That's where my problem lies, is in this danger zone.
Assumes that our kids don't see color. And unfortunately, scholars have shown that by 1 year old, our kids can see skin color. By 3 years old, our kids are attaching skin color to positive or negative traits. And so if we're just assuming that our kids aren't doing that, how are we counteracting that?
Here's the thing. If I'm in a hospital bed and I just had a heart attack, I don't want you touching me. I don't want a bed bath by your person. That's my personal human right to say so. But yet they've if God forbid I get cancer, which is on my worrisome list at this particular moment. I don't have a choice to pick doctors that know my specific genetic lineage to save my life. I have to go into some mixed facility and hope that they navigate me to what I'm comfortable with. They don't even give me an option at doctors with degrees for me to have an all-white staff. I want all-white nurses. I want all-white doctors. I want all-white research machines. I don't want my blood going into some research facility that then they're going to use to further their bipartisan position just because I'm trapped in New York and they made me sick through food and radio telescopy just to get me into their research facility so they can take more of my rights away and they can force more. I mean, that's what happened to my Aunt Judy. She didn't even have a choice for white doctors. She had whatever was available for the research team for her cancer. It's disgusting. They've taken away human and personal rights, and I don't even hear them speaking about it right on the televised propaganda version.
You know, because it's dangerous for...
They literally try to make you feel crazy and like you have a mental disease when you're like, no, we don't... There's something, I want someone from my larger, greater existential family to touch me if I'm in harm's way. Just like the doctor that delivered Alexander. Perfect example. I don't want to give opportunity for my body mechanical needs to anything in a whatever. That is a personal, that's a boundary that they've breached that, I don't understand why that's not all over headlines and why that's not first top priority when the president wakes up every morning. Getting them out of the hospital. Where is my hospital where I can go for safe things and specific genetic linked and responsible things at socially responsible medicine?
Our kids to be like, I don't want to play with that black boy. And so I want us to counteract that as parents.
This is stupid. My son, while I don't want him ever being touched by a doctor that looks like that, on the playground, go ahead, go play. They're running around, whatever. Because it's not what they're saying it is. But now I've been out-degreed by something, that's why I call it toilet paper. Doesn't matter. It's not real. Just because they have toilet paper and they organize themselves stronger with this toilet paper, no less, that they call degrees. Now at 40.48, which is like the umlaut, not on a horizon, but on a vertical, between the 40 and the 48, they mention about the Tony Awards. So in a truncated format where they condense it, this is how they presented, how they've positioned themselves in this Radio City Music Award, being to New York and being New York centric, also being Broadway. This is what they celebrated and what's going on in New York for those that are also perhaps POW, MIA, stuck elsewhere, since I'm only one of 10%.
That's the cast of the hit Broadway musical Company. They scored big last night at the 75th Tony Awards, taking home 5 awards.
Now, the only person I've ever met that said he was part of the company was also non-familial. He has the initials TL.
The Lehman Trilogy also won 5 Tonys, and Jennifer Hudson, she joined an elite group of artists. Jamie Wax, he has all the highlights of a huge night for Broadway's best.
From the first moments of its powerful...
Again, I feel very underrepresented in this display of awards and musical whatever, and like, oh my god, there's just so wonderful their display of art. No, 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 no. I wasn't asked to be part of it. There's no, I mean, like, this is just some storybook that I don't even, they don't jump off the page and like move me. It more frightens me.
Opening number. The 75th Tony Awards made one thing very clear. Broadway is back. Host Ariana DeBose led a celebration of rebirth that included recognition of diverse and inclusive works like Best Musical winner A Strange Loop, which took home
Big Black Queer took center stage. This is, for me, this is what erasure feels like. Being totally painted out of Broadway, or the ability to be in theater, or be able to participate in theater, to be able to even like pursue it as a career. It was very frowned upon in my household, even though Lewis had his whatever. Again, there's been so much like what's acceptable to pursue and what's not in wanting a respectable husbandry or spouse. I don't even know. They didn't even come with instructions as to like, this is what respectable ABO RH negative blood is looking for. And then you'll have a guaranteed life of happiness with whomever who is your level of good looking and who will be able to take care of you. So you're not stuck in a room and blowing up because the food is poisonous, the air is poisonous, and then there's a whole lot of cover up going on that's really, really dangerous when you call them out on it.
2 Tony Awards for its story about a gay black theater artist.
I wrote it at a time when I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I felt unheard, I felt misunderstood, and I just wanted to create a little bit of a life raft for myself as a black gay man.
One of the musical's celebrity producers, Jennifer Hudson, became the newest member of the EGOT Club. They were recognized.
Oh, there's one. I see one in mention of, I guess I was represented by one whatever that night, in lost in the sea of everybody else's greatness and glory and awards.
Recognizable faces from TV and film like Hugh Jackman, Felicia Rashad, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and Billy Crystal. But there are also faces that might be new to those outside of theater. Like Best Lead Actor in a Musical, Miles Frost, who won for his portrayal of pop legend Michael Jackson in MJ, the Michael Jackson Musical. And Best Lead Actress in a Musical, Joaquina Calacango, for her performance in Paradise Square.
I give thanks to all of the nameless ancestors,
giving us all the feeling that maybe Broadway isn't just bad, but better than ever. For CBS Mornings, Jamie Wells.
So now, just so I get my linguistics properly, that's what you've all labeled as the American Revolutionary War? Or are they part of the unrest in the American colonies? Just curious.
New York.
You were there. What was it like in the room? It was so good just watching it on TV.
Yeah, the energy was crazy. There was a huge contingent from 6. There's so much celebration. This is their first time out since COVID with everybody in the room together, and the performances were crazy good.
I can't say enough about Ariana DeBose. She killed from the beginning, from the moment she walked on the stage.
Yeah, again, I don't really care. Now back to Bill Maher. At 4833. He mentions this. Where do I get the fact from the societal whatever and this driving engine that's been working in some background scene while I'm trying to figure out how my portion of real world works and how I'm supposed to fit in. He mentions that Hollywood, he says very interesting key op phrases. He says they have all the money in the world. It also feels like they have all the time in the world, but again, I don't want to give them more credit than they're due. And then he says that they're the most awoke to the situation, like the appraisal or the appraisal of what's been going on in the world all at the same time. And then they get their bits and pieces that they fight over or make business out of in some communications project and some awards category, and however it trickles down in their very close-knit and closed society that I don't even know how to access. Another section of the war theater.
When liberals scream, do something after a mass shooting, why aren't we?
Now, liberals, is that because the woman sitting in the United Nations is from, is it Liberia, Libya? I don't know. One of those. I mentioned it once before with the real facts. I just don't have it available, and I don't really know that section of the world.
Aren't we also dealing with the fact that the average American kid sees 200,000 acts of violence on screens before the age of 18? And that, according to the FBI, one of the warning signs of a potential school shooter is a fascination with violence-filled entertainment. It's funny, Hollywood is the wokest place on earth in every other area of social responsibility. They have intimacy coordinators on set to chaperone sex scenes. They hire sensitivity readers to go through and edit scripts. Disney stood up to the Don't Say Gay law.
That's interesting. It's the second time in a few days that I've heard something about an intimacy coordinator and people going through scripts to make sure that they're socially either responsible or they're written properly for the, I guess, the words and the verse in this big global expanse of there might be a bootleg or a counterfeit that gets somewhere, and that might be a problem. Based on how much aviation has been expanded on.
Studios spent $10 million to digitally remove Kevin Spacey from a movie. But when it comes to the unbridled romanticization of gun violence, crickets. Weird, the only thing we don't call a trigger is the one that actually has a trigger.
So that's where I came up with this thing of, right, oh my God, Hollywood does have more answers, which leaves me with more questions in, then why did it turn out this way in this whatever. Now this is where Bill Maher mentions this thing of wiki travel, which I didn't even know exists. Again, I don't have money to fly all over the place. Also don't have, I didn't know, like, again, about travel. I don't really have a very extensive knowledge of it. I wouldn't even think to look to see where you're going. I mean, like, I don't know how you learn about where you're going, which is why I don't know how you plan to know, like, to go wherever you're going. And, like, what are the questions you need to keep yourself safe when you get there? Like, what are the things you need to know? Again, like, there's so much back the train up because the conversation's never even come up and the situation's never even arisen in how they've painted me into this dead end.
I look up on Wiki Travel because there it is.
But it's interesting, it has very real rectangle Union Jacks associated. It says Wiki Travel. It has this, and then these are whatever they put in there. And again, those rectangles are, and it says in English, those rectangles aren't even a study in the elementary school. Some of them, those patterns, hang in the entryway to the public school in the local area now. But looking around them, there's some I could pick out, like the Red Cross. But then there's others that I'm just like, I wouldn't even know where to begin to find the country associated with that rectangle.
It's very.
Oh, and it says real up here. So just so the surreal engine knows that from a couch potato or a chair in nowhere and nothingness, it says real.
Very revealing because they have travel tips for people going to every country, including people coming to this country. So I think it says a lot about what's going on in America. These are some real ones from Wiki Travel. Don't offer bribes to police officers. See, I mean, I mean, you know, in some countries that's de rigueur. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. American coins do not display the numerical value on the coin. Again, good to know if you're traveling from another country.
These are already published on the Maxi iPad internet, according to Bill Maher. So, I mean, I don't even know to search for these things. But how do things get out there in the big wide world of this web, this universe, and the earthling children that have gathered in this section of the universe, or in this portion of the debate?
This is a real one from Wiki. Don't wear a T-shirt with the Confederate flag on. I mean, some places it actually would be popular, but it just didn't. Not here, thank God. Okay, so would you like to hear some others? That I knew you would. Here's a great tip. In America, it's considered rude to stare at people when they're masturbating on the subway. That's.
Did you make that up?